Welcome to All Things Fisker. This is episode number 19, and we're streaming live tonight on YouTube, as most of you do know. But you can find this show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Pandora, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Just search All Things Fisker on your favorite streaming service and enjoy. So tonight on episode 19 of All Things Fisker, we're going to kick things off and do things a little differently than we've done. We ended up running a poll, got some feedback from the people that are in our chat, people who like watching the program, listening to the podcast. So we're going to mix things up a bit tonight. After some quick shout outs, I'm going to kick things off with the latest Fisker news. Then we'll discuss the news and anything interesting that we have learned this week, any takeaways from the past week. Then we're going to talk about some notable EV news and take questions like we always do. Maybe we'll take questions even as we go through some of our discussion. And then if you're watching along, you probably noticed we have a few different guests on tonight. Our guest hosts tonight are Matt from Ocean Views. Hey, Matt.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you. We have Jim from OSR Garage. Hi, Jim. Hey, and we've got a new face. We've got a new face tonight. We have Marty from Fisker's Whispers. Welcome, Marty. Thanks for joining us this week.
Hey, Fisker fam. Hey, Sean. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. So we're going to go ahead and if you guys want to post your URLs to the YouTube chat, to the Fiskerati YouTube chat, so everyone can follow your channels and stuff, that'd be great. And then if you haven't already followed the Fiskerati channel, go ahead and do that. So speaking of the YouTube chat, I did throw up a poll earlier tonight. Did anyone see the poll? Do you guys see the poll up there? I think so far we've got 54 people who voted. We're asking a question tonight. The question we're asking tonight is, what info will Henrik share about the Fisker Ocean at the end of the month? 4 choices: homologation, approval completed, EPA WLTP results, deliveries imminent, and none of the above. Those are your choices. Take the poll. We'll get to the results later in the show. And all right, so let's do some quick shout outs. Just want to see, kind of get a pulse of where people are watching us from tonight. And it'd be interesting too for the people that listen to the podcast. Where do people listen to the podcast from? Like, post it on the article, the latest article, like where you listen to it from. I think there's like a big following in Europe, which is kind of funny. But that's cool that people are actually listening to it. I think it's ranked like in the top 10 in a couple of different countries. So pretty cool. That is in the automotive channel, or the automotive section of podcast. So, all right, where do we have people tonight? We got people, looks like, from the West Coast, the East Coast, the Midwest. Do we have anyone from Canada or Europe? Cape Cod, Massachusetts, Houston, Texas. Marty, I think you're over in Florida. Jim's in Chicago. Matt's in North Carolina. Where else do we have? Another North Carolina for you.
Yeah,
there,
several
Matt.
North Carolina tonight.
Yeah, right. We got Tommaso in Los Angeles, just north of me. Westchester County, New York. Don't see anyone from Florida. Oh, there we go. St. Johns County, Florida. D-Man. Thanks for joining us. Wisconsin, Silver North. So we got quite a few people from all over the place tonight. Okay, enough with the shout outs. Let's go ahead and get to the Fisker news. Once I'm done reading the Fisker news, we're going to jump into it and discuss it. So the first thing that we got was today, Fisker announced earlier that the European Road Tour continues. The Fisker Ocean will be on display at the Autonomy Mobility World Expo in Paris, France next week on March 22nd and 23rd at the Porte de Versailles. That's where, if you remember, that's where the Fisker Ocean appeared at the Paris Motor Show. This particular event, tickets are 35 euros in advance, 50 euros at the door. Now, Henrik Fisker has been pretty quiet as of late, but he did say a few things that I thought were kind of interesting. I wrote articles about. Last week on Thursday, he shared a photo of himself with the team at Magna. They're talking about the paint tubes on the production line, and he said, yes, we are patiently waiting for homologation. We'll update as soon as I can. Then on Saturday, he said, getting ready to deliver. More info end of this month. So we'll discuss that in a minute. That's the poll for the week. That is what we're talking about. Those quotes are the question for the poll. So what is he going to announce at the end of this month? Will he announce something at the end of this month? That's a good question. So here we go. The next thing is everyone may know there's been quite a shock to regional banks here in the United States. If you have been following the news, you know that Silicon Valley Bank failed. That bank ended up, being all over the news about not being able to allow people to pull their money out of the bank over the weekend. So that was kind of the big headline. It made people on Wall Street, investors on Wall Street, people that have deposited money into banks a little skittish, especially regional banks. And somebody asked Henrik Fisker over the weekend, they said, does the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank affect Fisker at all? Henrik said, no, we do not do business with them. So to me, that's pretty good to know. We don't know much about the banking relationships that Fisker has with any of the banks out there other than Chase, who is doing the automotive financing. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. Now, also, the Fisker Ocean appeared at its second corporate event this past week. Marty actually shared and brought it to my attention. The electric SUV showed up on stage at the 3-day Qualtrics Experience Management Summit in Salt Lake City, Utah. The star-studded business event included the likes of Ryan Reynolds, who actually today, I guess, announced that he sold Mint Mobile to T-Mobile. That's pretty interesting. It included Martha Stewart, Chip, and Joanna Gaines. And I checked out Magnolia on our road trip. That's a pretty cool place in Waco, Texas, if you haven't checked that out. And of course, the other star at the event was the Fisker Ocean. The event was held earlier in the week, last week, between March 7th and through November 9th. Now, Henrik Fisker also shared a video clip of the Fisker Ocean rolling through the production facility at Magna Stair. The vehicle was traveling at low speeds, and you can hear the pedestrian warning sound. That Fisker Ocean had, I would say, maybe 1960s sci-fi spaceship sound, which was pretty cool. And if you didn't know, all electric vehicles are required by law to produce an audible alert. Pedestrians are to be warned when an EV is stationary, reversing, and driving forward at speeds up to 18.6 miles per hour. However, a sound is not necessary at speeds, at regular speeds, higher speeds, because the noise produced by the tires and the airflow is sufficient. Now, Fisker stock. That's kind of a sore subject for many. That stock, actually, Fisker stock was mentioned last week on CNBC's program Mad Money. If any of you guys watched that, I wrote an article about that. That was pretty neat. That actually happened when Matt, me, and Jim and I were actually doing all things Fisker last week. The lightning round host, Jim Cramer, gave his opinion. People love or hate the guy. He said, Fisker is a, quote, decent spec, and it could go to $5 before it goes to $10. He said that the company has hardly any debt or no debt, and he said that he liked the board. We'll talk maybe a little bit more about that. Now, on Monday, March 13th, that was just a few days ago, by our estimation, hundreds of Fisker Ocean One customers from all over the world, including Canada, hello, friends up in the north there, they had their build locked. Matt also had his Fisker Ocean One build locked, so we'll hear from him in a bit on that. In record time, Fisker congratulated customers the same day, actually that afternoon, with order confirmation emails and individual sequence numbers. And lastly, Fisker is supposed to drop, as everybody knows, a new Android app tomorrow on March 16th. Will they do it? I don't know. They're supposed to drop an iOS app on March 2nd, and we haven't seen that yet. But we did get the website that had loads of bugs for us. But since then, it looks like Fisker has fixed those, which is great. So March 16th tomorrow, who knows what time, Fisker may launch or release an Android app, possibly an iOS app. So there you have it. That is your Fisker news for the week. Gentlemen, how was that? How was the news?
Very good.
Lightning round news.
You should be an
In
anchor.
record time.
See you guys later.
In record time.
Karen or Kara, I guess, can go listen to her music now.
That's right. Thank you, Kara, for your feedback. So we have 76 people watching right now. Maybe it'll grow. It's a little bit different format. Maybe people tuned out right at the get-go because of the news. Who knows? So the neat thing is that we've done the news, but there's so much to talk about do you guys want to start with anything in particular? Or do you want me to just throw out a topic?
Table topic, sure.
All right. Let's talk about the March 13th build lock date and sequence numbers. Matt, you want to tell us about your lock experience?
Actually, let me post my picture here.
Yeah, please do. And you actually uploaded a video that I included in the article that we ended up writing about that. Here is your build confirmation, 2185. The 5,000.
Yeah, it seems like a nice number. I've been following the numbers this week, and I've seen everything from just a few hundred all the way up to 3,000, and everything in between. So quite a wide number of choices I see. But I'm pretty happy. 2185. All my lock stuff went through well. I didn't really have much. I didn't really change anything. As you know, I always had the Mariana, the Malibu.
Yep.
I was maybe the wheels were something I was thinking about, but I stuck with my air gliders in black. This is the combination I picked out like probably 5 months ago. So, and
you stuck with it. That's actually really cool that you stuck with it. A lot of people, myself included, flip-flopped on the paint. I flip-flopped, I think, on the wheels. Originally I had the air gliders in silver. I flopped to the what were they, the Slipstreams in black. Went with the all black option. So that's cool. You got it.
I kept the accessories, the tow hitch with electrical, and the floor mats as the two paid accessories. And it looks like everybody has late Q2, Q3. I didn't see anything different than those numbers for delivery. Have you seen anything on that?
I saw the same thing. Late Q2, Q3. And what have you seen, Marty? You follow all sorts of people on Instagram, or people maybe share. I don't even, tell us how it works. Do people share all these locks with you, or how does it work?
Yeah,
you share so many of them.
It's kind of funny because obviously I follow all the Fisker pages, and I follow a lot of Fisker fan pages, and then I follow a lot of Fisker hashtags. So things will just come up in my stream. And of course, some people now are tagging me in their sequence numbers. I got mine. My lock date was 27th of February. So I think the first week in March, around 7th or 8th, I got my sequence number. Very excited to see that finally. And then just like in the last couple of days, probably saw maybe a dozen come through, and I posted a bunch of them over on Stock Twits and on my page as well. So it's nice to see, and we're seeing a lot of people. I mean, it was very diverse regionally. You had people in Norway, Denmark, all over the U.S. So it's nice to see that coming across. Hopefully, it portends some exciting news here in the next couple of weeks.
That's right. That's totally true. And one thing that I thought was interesting, it was the first time I saw Canada pop up on the list. So I hadn't seen anybody previous with a lock in Canada. So it's good that people are going to be now maybe locking in their vehicles in north of the United States and Canada.
Hey, Sean,
I saw a few in
Sean, one
Toronto.
thing else I noticed is back a few months ago, I was doing that chart of all of the initial lock-in dates, and before they went to that Q1, Q2 thing. And March 13th was the largest grouping on that list. And I think
it seemed like it.
Yeah, I think it was. And I think the next week is also going to be very large too. So we'll be seeing this next week as well.
Yeah, I saw 20, I think it was 20 new, I believe they were all from this March 13th date, but I saw 913, 1063, 1474, 2010, 2098, 2185, 2354, 2542, 2692, 2695, 2772, 2932, 3219, 3465, 3487, 3536, 3551, 3993, 3997, and 4036. Those are your lottery numbers for tomorrow. Just kidding. So those were all the lot numbers or the sequence numbers that I saw. 20 in a day. That was really cool. And then we ended up doing an article on what we called with Giuseppe, that's their screen name in the Fiskarati forums. They've been running a spreadsheet and taking stuff from all over the internet on all the builds, where where the Fisker Ocean One customer resides. Are they in Canada, United States, Denmark, etc. All the build configurations if people share them, and they have I think 472 or something like that.
Wow.
Now I think it's well over 500. But there were some pretty interesting insights, I thought, from that. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see them, but some of them were and who knows if this holds. This is a subset of the 5,000, but there was 57% of the total people who have shared their data resided here in the United States, and then the next most popular country was Norway, followed by Denmark. And we believe Denmark was the ones that had the people in Denmark were the customers with the Q1 delivery dates. So we're 16 days left for Q1. Will they get them? Maybe that's the news Henrik's going to share at the end of the month. I have no idea. But those were the top three countries that people have reported their sequence numbers and configurations. And then on top of that, I think we've seen build confirmation, or not confirmations, but the sequence numbers ranging. I think we finally saw 0007. So the 007, I guess that has been shared out. So that's kind of neat. Lucky number 7. And then we have a confirmation of sequence numbers all the way up to 4964. So almost to the 5,000. And then we learned that the most popular configuration so far is, go figure, Big Sur Blue, Malibu, and the black F3 Slipstream wheels. So do you guys have any thoughts on that? Or are people just going to max out the options, take the most expensive ones? Is that, I guess that's the strategy for a lot of people. Is that a good idea? Yeah. Is that a good idea or no? I don't know.
That seems to be the vibe. I did that same thing, minus the black wheels, but I did take the F3s with the silver trim. And I was just like you, I switched up kind of last minute. For the longest time, my configuration was actually very similar to the one you got, with black exterior, black interior. I was going to do the black F5, if I'm remembering correctly. And then just kind of towards the end, I'm like, gosh, you know what? It's kind of really hard to, you see these cars all the time, especially, downtown Tampa where I'm at, where, a BMW M3 with a nice satin, finish. And you're like, you know what? I want something custom. And if they're going to give it to me, with the Ocean One, it'd be a different thing if I was going to have to pay, the upcharge on the paint. I'd probably pass. But if you're one of the folks who put the $5,000 down last summer, why not take advantage of it?
True. I that's how I felt originally, and that's kind of how I still feel. I then ended up taking the belief that, or the position that, you got to get what you love.
Yep. And
you're going to have to live with this car for the foreseeable future, 3 years, 5 years, most likely. Maybe for some people forever. Who knows? Until the car dies. But for me, I thought, hey, instead of Great White, which was the standard option, free of charge, I chose the black. But I really did like the Big Sur Blue. It's just when I thought through about having to protect the paint and maintain the paint, I just couldn't. I know I'm really bad, and I think I've mentioned this before, I'm really bad at washing my car. It's like once every 3 months, and I think I told Matt and Jim once, I only wash the car usually when it rains. I actually go outside in the rain and wash the car. So that gives me an excuse. Oh, hasn't rained forever. I'm not going to wash the car. So it gets really dirty. And if I had that matte finish, the Big Sur Blue, it'd probably end up looking awful over a short period of time.
It's a common concern. I get questions on it all the time, and I'm like, I've never owned that paint, so I'm kind of uncharted territory myself. But I do, like to wash and detail my cars, and I think this car, in addition to be one of the most photographed cars I've ever owned, will also be pretty well taken care of. So, and of course I'll report, if like there's dings, scratches, tree sap, bird poop, whatever, I'll be talking about it.
Are you planning to get it wrapped with some sort of a paint
I had
protection
not.
film?
I had not planned on getting it wrapped. I have a garage. It's a
Okay.
condo, but it's a I have a
Yeah.
garage, so it's going to be somewhat kind of indoors.
Yeah.
And I work from home, so the car is not out a lot.
Okay.
Unless I'm going to St. Pete or something like that.
So like you and me, we're not going to be getting much benefit from the solar sky roof then.
Right. Yeah, maybe during weekend outings. That's about it.
There you go. So one interesting thing we talked about maintenance of the Big Sur Blue. Somebody shared with me, one of our watchers, Raul, thanks for sharing this. He ended up sharing an email. He asked Fisker just this past day or so about Big Sur Blue and if Fisker was going to release any information about how to maintain that. And they ended up sharing a response. The company ended up saying, Fisker said, our matte finish paints are durable and designed for automotive use, ! It is true that matte finishes may require different techniques that you are used to, but the amount of maintenance is comparably the same as a gloss finish to avoid micro scratches. In line with the general information available for matte finish paints, we do not recommend automatic car washes, but instead hand washing matte finishes. We also recommend using a non-acidic solution when washing your matte finish Ocean One. More information on exterior paint maintenance will be shared in your Fisker Ocean owner's manual. And then it said, we cannot guarantee the release of the Fisker Ocean owner's manual prior to your edit build lock date. However, we recommend independent research from general information available on matte finishes to aid in the making your Fisker Ocean exterior paint election. So a little information, not much more information than we probably already knew, but I thought I'd share that for the people that are interested in the Big Sur Blue. Welcome to the people who just joined our channel tonight. This is Fisker, all things Fisker, episode number 19. Hello to the people on the podcast. We are talking about the build lock date that happened on Monday. And I should mention, if I didn't mention this in the news that I read at the start of this, Fisker sent out the emails this week in like record time. It was so quick where people locked and then immediately the same day they ended up getting the emails. And I thought that was actually shows that, hey, they're getting their, I hate to say act together, but they are doing things much more proficiently maybe than they have done in previous weeks. And I did see, like I have seen in previous weeks as well, some people like Bayou Bob, who's a frequent contributor in our forum, he ended up getting a sequence email, a sequence number in his email that was just all X's. So the mail merge for his account didn't work. Right. I saw that across a couple different people's responses, but when he clicked, I believe the view your sequence, it ended up showing it to him on the actual webpage that shows the Big Sur Blue Fisker Ocean and then your number behind it. So something interesting. It's really cool though. Fisker's getting the emails out quicker. I think I had to wait 5 days. Some people had to wait, I think 7 or 8 days in previous weeks. But it seems like they're cutting down the time. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues. Now, let's anyone else have anything to talk about the build block date, or should we go to the next topic?
I'm good.
Cool. So the Fisker Ocean pedestrian warning sound. Did any of you guys hear this thing?
I did. I liked it. It's kind of like a warbling sound. It's kind of hard to put into words, but neat.
It is. It was kind of a weird sound.
It's similar to the ID4. Not exactly the same, but it's got that similar sound to it. That wah 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 sound.
Let's go ahead and listen to it. And then we can talk about the spaceship sound or Twilight Zone or whatever the heck it reminds people of. Okay, so here we go. Here's I know we'll get to this topic next. So let's listen. Oh, is this even the right article? Geez, son. Oh, there we go. Here it is. Okay, let's see if we can hear this thing. Ugh, so short. One more time. So that was the low speed pedestrian warning sound. You'll hear it up to 18.6 miles per hour here in the United States. Sounds pretty good. You could hear some background noise of that Magna staging area, whatever that is. But it sounds pretty cool. It's like a low hum. It sounds maybe better than the Tesla. I don't know, the Tesla Model 3. I don't know if anyone has heard that thing, but that sounds kind of like a UFO, like somebody getting abducted by a UFO. At least that's what I think of it when I back out. And what was funny, yesterday I was backing out of our garage, and we also live in a condo, and we have kind of like a cluster, and we get a lot of people here. There's 10 people, 10 owners that live within our little clusters, and always people get Amazon deliveries every day of the week, it seems like. And who knows what time the Amazon delivery truck ends up coming. But yeah, I think it was like yesterday, the day before, I was backing out of our garage, and I wait to hear the little, Tesla low speed pedestrian warning sound. And as I was backing up, it started changing, and it started going like beep, beep, beep. And I was like, what the heck? Is something wrong with the car or what? I don't know what's going on. I can't tell. I couldn't see the Amazon delivery truck, but like it was way up the hill, and I could hear that with the blend of the Tesla pedestrian warning. And I was like, what's going on here? This is weird. And my daughter was like, yeah, that sounds really weird. That doesn't sound right. And she was rolling up and down her window, and that was squeaking. And there are all these weird noises that we haven't heard recently. And lo and behold, the Amazon truck pulled right behind me as I was backing out of the garage. And luckily I saw it, because otherwise I would have ran into it. But they clearly didn't hear the Tesla Model 3 warning sound. So hopefully people will hear the Fisker Ocean low speed warning sound and know when to stop. And hopefully, like our community here, hopefully I don't get hit by a delivery truck backing out of my garage. But yeah, I thought it was neat that we ended up seeing it the last week as well, with a red Planet Fisker Ocean pulling out of the same area. Maybe it was a little more pronounced then, a little more prominent, but cool that we're starting to see them. And then I think, Matt, you may have mentioned something about the headlights. Oh, you're on mute, Matt. You had something about the headlights.
Sorry,
right?
yeah, I want to mention about the Tesla Model 3 doesn't have rear cross traffic alert, and the Ocean does. So when you pull out of your garage in the Ocean, you'll get alerts if something is coming from the sides. That I have noticed that in my car. I'm not getting those alerts like in a parking garage or something, and it is yeah, it's definitely a nice feature to have on other cars. Our Volvo has that, and it's really good.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned something too, I think, about the lights on that Fisker Ocean as it was going, but you could see like a change in the lights, right?
Yeah, I think they turned the headlights on, and it changed the daylight running lamps, and also I guess the I think the logo and the Ocean name, I think those turn on separately. I don't know if they work while parked. I know it works different in Europe than North America, but we haven't really seen like a definite, how that exactly works.
Got it.
Those are some bright lights too. Wow. When I get to see them in Orlando and Miami, and I don't think the lights were on. I think those were just the daytime running lights. Those are super intense, bright white lights. I was impressed by it.
Yeah, they are definitely impressive. I think I've seen a couple of videos of the Fisker Ocean at night in pitch black at on the Magna track, and they do light up the ground pretty good. So that's good. That's what we got from that bad boy. And then while we had that article up, I ended up seeing. Oh, go for it, Jim.
I was going to say, if the logo is anything like what Volkswagen does, it won't be lit up during the day. It'll just light up whenever the lights come on at night. So it won't be part of the daytime running lights, most likely.
Got it. All right. And then, Marty, I saw you shared on the Fiskerati forums, and you probably shared on Instagram as well, that Qualtrics event. So that was news to me. I think that popped up somewhere. Where'd you see that?
I was just, stalking the usual suspects, Natasha and Tevi and John. And I saw it on Natasha's page, the car being tarped. And I'm like, well, it looks like we're announcing something, or something's happening. And what is that under there? A pair or an Ocean? And where are we? Where is this? And so on and so forth. But the suspense didn't take long. Then John tagged Qualtrics in there, and then some hashtags, and was able to kind of track it down. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's an event. We're at it. I didn't know anything about it. Not that I need to be notified, but you and I were, joking around offline. Maybe have an intern just send out a press release. We're going to be at Qualtrics. And maybe it's a private event. People can't get in, but at least people know it's another press release. It's something that keeps Fisker top of mind as we're waiting for cars to arrive. To me, kind of a mismarketing opportunity, but it's not the end of the world. It was kind of nice to see some people interacting with the vehicle. They did eventually post some videos. They did a big reveal. It was the Ocean, not the Pear. A lot of influential folks there. A lot of people come out to see some of the speakers. So I think it was a good place to be.
Yeah, for sure. It would be cool if, like you said, Fisker ends up doing press releases even for these events, just to create awareness and to keep people thinking about Fisker. They don't do too many press releases. So to me, these are opportunities. One thing that's actually interesting with Qualtrics, I don't know if anybody follows Qualtrics, but they got acquired this week by Silver Lake and CPP Investments. That those two companies acquired them for $12.5 billion. The deal marks the second time the survey software company has been acquired in less than 5 years. And once the transaction is complete, Qualtrics will become a privately held company, and its common stock will no longer be listed on public markets. So I thought that was actually kind of interesting. That came out just a couple days after that event. So that's kind of.
I would just like to go on record here, Sean, and say that I can be acquired for $1 billion if anyone is interested.
All right.
Yeah.
Bargain.
That's funny. So let's see here. Changing gears, Fisker Ocean's European Road Tour continues. The company last time was in Paris was the October event over at the Paris Motor Show, and Glenn Kahn, shout out to him if he's watching tonight. He was the one that covered it for us. He also lives in the Chicagoland area, and he ended up going there for business to meet some friends, and he got a chance to go to the Paris Motor Show to cover the event. And it was one of the first times we all got video of the Fisker Ocean, a pre-production Fisker Ocean, right before the production started on November 17th, the start of production. So that was actually pretty cool. Lots of photos, lots of videos. Now it's back there again at a mobility expo. The company is going to end up being a part of the Allego booth. So if you guys know Allego Charging, that was the charging partnership that was announced sometime last year. And we just recently got another electrical vehicle charging partnership announced last week, which was, I think it was called DEFT. Deft Power, Deft Energy, Deft something, and it was another charging company that has a lot of public charging stations throughout Europe. A lot more. I think it was like 400,000 something.
Yeah, ridiculous. I almost thought it was a typo when I saw 400,000 locations.
Yeah, that's
and then someone in Denmark messaged me, and they're like, they hardly have any in Denmark. This is a terrible idea. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on over there, but
Hey, at least the people are honest, right? People tell us all the time what they're thinking.
Great sources of news is as people on your forums, people interacting on social media, they'll give you the skinny on their local area. It's great.
It is pretty good. So that road tour continues Europe. Maybe we'll see some other places. Now, if anybody who watches, follows along, covers that, wants to have me feature photos and videos, please email them, put them in a Google photo album, put them in a Dropbox folder, email it to me, and then I'll upload them to the site and write a quick blurb. That's always fun to document some of those. And I think the last event, that Qualtrics one, nobody ended up sending anything. That's fine. But the one before that, which was the Service Now, we ended up getting people that attended that event, where Bill McDermott is the CEO of that company, and he ended up somehow requesting a Fisker Ocean to appear. So the second time it's been at a corporate event. This will be, I believe, the third time, maybe the fourth time the Fisker Ocean shows up in Paris, and it'll be at a partners booth, not Fisker's booth. So that confused some people last time when they went to the Paris Motor Show. They were looking for Fisker on the floor map, the map of the whole event, and they couldn't find Fisker. It was actually Fisker's financing partner, I believe, in France, who they ended up showing the Fisker Ocean at their booth. So just like that event, Fisker will have the Fisker Ocean at the Allego charging booth. Check that out. Let us know what you think. I think that's next week on, I think Thursday or Friday of next week. So that'll be kind of interesting to see if any photos or videos surface from there. So that's that. You guys have any thoughts, or is it even worthwhile to have the Fisker Ocean continue these road tours? Is it useful? Any thoughts there?
I think so.
It is.
Yeah,
I mean, I still want to see it.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I still want to see it. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think East Coast of the U.S. is definitely needs some more. Maybe the D.C. area, Atlanta. I think just New York and Florida weren't enough.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, and I think any kind of visibility, any kind of exposure, especially the low cost kind, being a startup, is good for us. Anytime we can piggyback with one of our partners, whether it's Bridgestone or Allegro, and sit in their booth, great. Hey, wall box, show off all products. I remember when they did their grand opening down there at the new wall box facility, and they had our car on site. It was great to see. So anything that we can do that's going to be low cost, either guerrilla marketing or kind of piggybacking on somebody else's effort, at least at this stage, is worthwhile.
Yeah, I agree. Now I had, and I can't find it. I wish I would have had this. I had a really interesting email that somebody sent in about Fisker having pop-up locations across the United States, leading up to the first delivery and thereafter. And I'm trying to find the email, can't find it. If I can find it before the end of the show, I'll read it. But the gist of it is, why isn't Fisker continually touring the Fisker Ocean across the United States, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, South? Why isn't the car constantly out there? Even if it's an old, like the old school prototype that went everywhere. Fisker, as we know, got a bunch of Fisker Oceans from the Poseidon leader, which they confirmed. And it would be super helpful. There's so many reservation holders, 60-something thousand reservation holders, 65,000, whatever it is. A lot of those people still haven't seen the Fisker Ocean in person. Jim, you probably being Jim and Matt, actually, right? You two haven't seen it in person yet. And there's so many people just like you. And if it showed up again in San Diego, or it showed up in Carlsbad, or it showed up, I don't know, somewhere nearby here, I'd go see it for, fifth time or whatever it is. So it just seems like Fisker could somehow, I know it's probably all hands on deck. There's lots of people trying to figure out the deliveries and the service centers and how they're going to do all that stuff. But it's also, while someone's trying to run the company, someone else has to go out there and do the marketing and continue the sales engine. And if they, if they need help, having the Fisker Ocean go from city to city, state to state, I'm happy to help. But the Fisker Ocean could certainly start off in New York again and make its way all the way along the East Coast down to Florida. And then it could start in Chicago and make its way all the way south to Texas or something like that. Go through Georgia, go through wherever, Tennessee, maybe Nashville would be a cool place. But there's so many places it could go. I think people in Colorado wanted to see it. People in Arizona are dying to see the Fisker Ocean. And then people up in Seattle, I'm sure, would love to have a second go at it. People in Portland, etc. There's just so many places. It's like, start on the coast, get 3 Fisker Oceans, 3 different places, and just drive them south and give people another opportunity. Yeah. And once you reach the southern part of the United States across the board, send them back up and go again, right?
Yeah. To your point, there's a lot of folks who didn't know it was coming to Seattle. They see it on your blog, or they'll see it on my Instagram, and they say, "Oh, I didn't even know it's in Seattle," and then they rush over to, or to post in Houston or Dallas. Those events. There's a lot of people who just kind of snuck up on them. If they're not following it and they're like, oh, that was last week, it was here. When's it coming back? We don't know. Well, in some cases we didn't know that it was coming. And if you're crisscrossing the country in Fisker Oceans with some great photo opportunities too, right? Well, the side of the road, some diner somewhere. You're creating content for the Fisker Twitter, for the Fisker Instagram, and getting people engaged, and branding. We're still branding. A lot of people have never heard of Fisker; they just don't know it. So a lot of good opportunities. I agree with you 1,000%. Get the car on the road, even if it's a show car.
Yeah, I think a couple of people have mentioned, hey, Boston, and in the chat, Boston, Nebraska. Start in North Carolina, Rosanna. Of course, start in North Carolina. There's a lot of people in North Carolina. Irv, shout out to you, Irv, if you're watching. Start out where? What was that, Jim?
Nah, North Carolina.
Oh, boo to North Carolina.
I mean, it is a little better Duke, but
yeah, Kansas City. That's a great place for people to drive into. Kansas City, Jingesh. That's a good one. There's just so many places, so much opportunity.
Someone mentioned Minneapolis, and I'm like, I don't know. And then I looked up Minneapolis, St. Paul. There's like 4 million people there. This is a huge metro area, and it wouldn't have occurred to me to bring a car there. But like, there's a lot of places that are not named New York, LA, and Chicago that you could bring the car and get a lot of exposure.
True. Very true.
Yeah, I mean, I would even throw Miami in there. So, like some of the big 4 cities or something like that in the U.S. that major cities that people visit.
Yeah, there was actually, if I probably won't be able to find it real quick here, but Fisker ended up announcing in their original investor presentation, it was like 10 cities that they plan to have Fisker lounges or experience centers, what they called at the time. And those would be all great places to bring the Fisker Ocean. One of them was actually Phoenix. There was Los Angeles, of course. There was Seattle. There was New York. Miami was one of them. Austin, I think it was Austin or somewhere else in maybe it was Houston. And there's just so many places that they didn't actually go to yet, Chicago being one of those. So yeah, more to come on that. Hopefully Fisker gets the ball rolling on the road tour here in the United States. And as I mentioned, if they need help, there's plenty of help here. I'm happy to jump in a car and drive it down the coast. And I think it'd be fun, and I could write about it. That'd be kind of interesting. So, okay, let's go on. Enough beating the dead horse there about the pop-up locations. So did you guys, let's go ahead and look at our poll here. So we have 113 people voted in this poll. We asked the question, what info will Henrik share about the Fisker Ocean at the end of the month? Now, Henrik ended up sharing, as I mentioned, he ended up saying a couple times in the past week that more info at the end of the month. It's time to deliver this thing. And I thought, okay, what's that information he's going to deliver at the end of the month? So I created the poll. I'm going to end the poll. 113 people voted in it. And the number one answer that people chose was Henrik's gonna based on the poll, Henrik is going to talk about homologation and regulatory approval has been completed. That was 58% of the vote believes that's what he's going to say. The next up, 16% of the vote, deliveries imminent. There we go, butchered that one. And then EPA WLTP results, 12%, and then none of the above, 12%. So I would be in the majority here. If I could vote, I can't vote because I created the poll, but I would have been in the homologation and regulatory approval completed. I believe that's what he's going to say at the end of the month. That doesn't mean Fisker Ocean deliveries are going to happen this month. It just means, okay, everything, all the ducks are in a row. Everything has been, all of our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed. Deliveries are going to start soon, maybe April. Q2, not sure. What do you guys think? What is Henrik going to talk about at the end of the month around the Fisker Ocean? What's he going to talk about? Do you have any guesses? Would any of these options in the poll been anything you would have thought of, or something else, maybe?
I voted the range is what I voted on.
The range? Yeah.
I mean, he's hinted around at it, so maybe they're going to announce it.
Yeah, I'd be pretty disappointed if that's all they mentioned.
I hope all three options are announced at the same time. So
yes,
yes. I'm in the none of the above camp, and what I think, or maybe it's not, maybe it's not thinking, maybe it's hoping, is that they'll announce that we built 300 cars. That would be killer, even if they're not certified, even if we don't know the range, even if they're not crash tested, even if they're not being delivered next week. Hey, we said we're going to build 300 cars Q1. Do an overhead drone shot of 300 cars sitting in Magna. That would blow people's minds. And then next week announce, certification and all the other goodies and start shipping those bad boys out. That would be killer.
That would be good news. I think you might be right there. That's what we're expected, right? 300 units to be produced in Q1. Q1 has 16 days left.
Yeah.
So did Fisker get the parts needed to build those 300? That's the question that nobody has the answer to, unless you probably work in supply chain at Fisker, or you are Henrik Fisker or Gita Burkhardt. Then you probably have the information. But I've been wondering, like, they on the earnings call, which just was not too long ago, they said that they're still waiting on the parts for the first 300. Yeah, those could have came that same week. Who knows?
Yeah.
But there's a couple people in the forums questioning about, will Fisker deliver? Will they build the 42,400 units for the Fisker Ocean in 2023? I still believe that they can. I've done some, back of the napkin math, and I wrote an article back in October that laid out how many units I thought Fisker could produce each month, with not having much information other than just a few interviews that Henrik has done over the time. And I thought at the time the company could do, with Magna, 7,500 units a month at full capacity in the near term. Maybe that was a little high. Maybe it was like 6,300, whatever it is. But 7,500 units would be 250 cars a day. Totally plausible. And, so if Fisker for some reason doesn't hit the first 300 units in Q1, what's going to happen is at the end of the year, they're just going to, max out production. That's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to crank it if they want to hit the 42,400 number. Now, how many will Fisker deliver this year? That's a whole nother question. We do know that Fisker wanted to deliver the first 5,000 Fisker Ocean 1s by September. That's still on the Fisker FAQ on their website. Nothing's changed there. And there was a couple of other details that have been added to the FAQ. I haven't been watching the FAQ on a regular basis, but there were a couple new blurbs added there about lock dates and financing and things like that. But nothing crazy that are worth mentioning, other than there are a couple new FAQs. Any other thoughts on what Henrik could mention? That's pretty much it. We just have to wait and see. We only have 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks to go.
It'll be interesting to see. And if it is that 300, is that going to be, are we going to be completing that fleet order first? Or is that going to be the first 300 Oceans to Ocean 1 customers? A lot to be seen. And we all know by now that Henrik likes to keep it close to the vest, and good for him. But we're starving out here for information. I know a lot of folks are, I'm sure, messaging you guys and hitting me up. Do you know this? Do you know that? I said, brother, if I knew it, I'd post it. I would be talking about it. But
that's so true. That's so true. So true. Now, Henrik as well, keeping things close to the vest. He's a man of few words on social media, but he did get asked the question, as I mentioned earlier, switching topics, about Silicon Valley Bank. Does the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank affect Fisker at all? And he did say, no, we do not do business with them. I actually was kind of, as a Fisker shareholder, I was actually relieved to hear that, having seen other banks implode over, on Friday, as well as on Monday. Oh my God, Monday was a bloodbath for some of the regional banks. And some of them rebounded over the last couple of days, which is a good for, people who invest in regional banks, me not being one of those. But I thought it was good that he acknowledged that, hey, we don't do business with Silicon Valley Bank. We don't really know, as I mentioned in the news, who are, at least I don't know. I've looked in all the 10Ks and all the filings, and I've sifted and sorted and looked through them. I can't find out who Fisker's banking partner is. I'm going to go with it's Chase, but that's a pure guess, and that's based off the financing, the Fisker Finance, how they are partnering with Chase to do financing. Something would tell me if you're partnering with Chase to do financing here in the United States, at least, you maybe bank with Chase as a corporate customer. Good guess, maybe, who knows? But Chase is the juggernaut, right? JP Morgan Chase, they're the juggernaut bank here in the United States. And it's great if nothing else, Fisker is doing their financing program through them. And we talked last week about the different interest rates that Fisker is going to offer. And I logged in there a couple of days ago, and the interest rates still showed the same thing. And I think next week we get, who knows what's going to happen next week when the Federal Reserve meets. Are they going to raise interest rates again? I think last time we talked about maybe they'll do them a quarter of a point, maybe they'll do them a half a point. We didn't know, but we also didn't know that Silicon Valley Bank was going to fail and there was going to be this, banking crisis. So maybe interest rates will drop potentially for Fisker Finance. It would be a good thing. Maybe the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, will not raise interest rates next week, and maybe we'll see finance rates for auto loans, Fisker Ocean One, Fisker Ocean in general. Maybe they'll come down a little. Maybe they won't be low sixes. Maybe they'll be high fives or mid fives. One could hope, because I am likely going to finance the Fisker Ocean, as I mentioned, since the Tesla Model 3 took a whack in price. So I'm going to be financing the bad boy now.
Yeah. Those rates are brutal. Hopefully they come down soon. Otherwise, I'll have to have a Fisker's Whispers bake sale or something. I don't know. Something else.
That's funny. So let's jump to topics again. Let's talk about the. I hate talking about stocks on this show, but Henry, the Fisker stock was mentioned on Mad Money on Wednesday of last week when we were doing the show, just about this, maybe right before that. And it was a caller, I believe, from StockTwits ended up getting to ask Jim Cramer, the host of Mad Money, during the lightning round. And the lightning round is a place where Jim Cramer takes questions and then fires off a buy or sell. Most of the time, he just probably does a gut and says whatever is on the top of his mind. It doesn't mean the stock's going to go up or down. It's just his take. And as I mentioned in the news, he said that Fisker was a decent spec. Now, there's a lot of people who love the guy, as I mentioned, and there's a lot of people who hate the guy. I don't mind him. I actually enjoy listening to him, whether I do a lot of running, and I always listen to Squawk on the Street podcast. I love that to get news in the morning. And then if I run out of things to listen to, I'll go to like Fast Money or some other CNBC show, or I'll listen to the intro, the monologue part of Mad Money. I enjoy doing that. But he did say it was a decent spec, and that means as we've talked about, it's a spec is something that's speculative, and it's either gonna go to zero or it's gonna be shoot for the stars. It could, to the moon, whatever the quote is, whatever the kids say these days.
Right.
So maybe it could be somewhere in between. Maybe it's not going to be one of those. Maybe it could be somewhere in between. But it's always nice that it gets exposure, because, like you said earlier, Marty, a lot of people don't know what Fisker is. They don't know the Fisker brand. So any mention, whether it be on Mad Money, Fast Money, whatever it may be, to me, any publicity is good publicity. So that's my take on it. Do you guys have any takes on it?
Yeah, just to kind of pick up where you left off, as far as visibility and mentions, that's all great and fine, and people will learn about the brand, but also I think they kind of lump us in maybe with a Rivian or a Lucid or a potential Tesla competitor, not really understanding the asset light model, or the fact that we're not going to have the type of ramp, hopefully, when we do ramp and have the troubles like some of the other EV automakers are having. Having Magna in our having them produce the vehicle is the biggest advantage I think that we have over the. Now, of course, it's predicated on getting parts, predicated on the supply chain functioning properly. But I agree with you. I think you could see that top end 5,000, 7,500 per month, which would make us the fastest growing EV, ever, if that comes to fruition. There's a lot of ifs, but that's the track, that's the target. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of risks, which makes it a spec.
High risk, high reward, for sure.
High risk. That's what I should have said. High risk, high reward. There you go. And we did mention that before. Henrik he was at one of the conferences. It might have been with Adam Jonas, or it could have been with another analyst, but he did mention Fisker could be one of the fastest growing EV companies based on how much production they could do in the year 2023. But as we all know, it's all dependent on procuring the parts to build the vehicles. I don't have any concern with Magna any bit at all. Having walked through the facility, it's a beast of a machine. And Henrik and Fisker, the whole company, they're one company, a part of many who use the machine. So that machine's well oiled, very utilized, and everyone knows their place on the production line. And I have no concerns about that. It's just the parts. Is the company going to get all the parts? Hopefully they do, and hopefully they produce the 300, which we may hear about at the end of the month. And then we'll get our first deliveries in maybe Q2, and everything's off to the races from there. That's what we're looking for. We'll see what happens. Yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. So on to the next subject. And one thing, Tommaso actually in the chat, he did he said Fisker has payment processing agreements and the At the Money program, which was that $350 million at the money. It's not at the money. I always say at the money. I don't know why I say that. At the market, correct? Program with J.P. Morgan Chase. So assuming it is their main bank, that's good to know. So that is that. And then going down to the next thing, Fisker's apps. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the Android App Store and see if there's anything. Google Play, that's what it's called. Google Play and Fisker. Do we have any new apps on Google Play? As of right now, we do not. Last update March 1st. And then Fisker iOS app. Do we have anything there? Last update for the iOS App Store, the Apple App Store. Nope, still 2.4.3. Yep.
Yeah.
So we're still waiting. Maybe they'll drop tomorrow. And it'll be interesting to see what these apps are going to be. And maybe it's just going to be a version of the website. Not sure. But maybe we'll see some new stuff. I'm hoping whatever it is, it's smooth and works, as they probably hope so as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it with the apps. There really hasn't been too many changes to the website. I just think they've become maybe more less buggy, maybe, and that's a good thing. So yeah, keep us posted on that. For anybody who sees those, let us know if you see whoever sees the apps first. Now, I'm going to throw up the Ocean One project thing on my screen. Maybe not on my screen, but I'm just going to pull it up here. So if you go to the Fisker Audi forums at the top, I pinned a topic. And Giuseppe, who I mentioned earlier in the news or sometime earlier, they're trying to collect through like a grassroots campaign, if you will, trying to catalog all 5,000 Fisker Oceans. So if you haven't already reported your sequence number and your build configuration, head over to the Fisker Audi forums and do so. As I mentioned earlier, the top 3 marketplaces, launch marketplaces that the Fisker that customers have actually reported from were the United States, Denmark, and Norway. And now let's go to the actual colors. Top color, Big Sur Blue, followed by, this was kind of interesting, followed by Mariana Matte. That seems to be the next most popular. And then the third place was, so it was 42% of people, Big Sur Blue, 22% Mariana, followed by 10% Night Drive. So I'm in the third option. As far as the interior colors, Malibu, 42% of the submissions. Black Abyss Plus at 34, Sea Salt 24%. Kind of interesting. And then wheels,
people without kids. All right.
There you go. 24% of the people don't have kids or don't care about getting their white interior dirty. Especially with taco trays, right?
Yeah, like what better combination?
Oh,
right.
Oh my God.
That fire sauce.
Oh, geez, that'd be awful. That's awful. And then you have wheels. The ones that I mentioned earlier were the Slipstreams in black.
By a wide margin.
By about 39% of the people. That's huge. The next closest two runners up, if you will, 17%, you had the F5A air glider and the other Slipstream. So the silver Slipstream, those tied for second place at 17%. And then you had the F5, actually, I'll take that back. The F5B air glider, the black air glider, and the silver Slipstream, those tied for 17%. 12% of the vote, so that would be like a tie for third place, was your let's see here. It was your Vortex wheel and your F5A, the silver air glider. And then lastly, 3% of the vote, which I thought was interesting, was the Aero Stealth wheel. So that was kind of interesting. And then let's see here. I ended up writing something yesterday about the most popular wheel options, which I just mentioned. But in that article, it shows that let's see here. How do we say it? The rarest configuration for the Fisker Ocean One, Great White, Sea Salt, and 20-inch F7 Aero Stealth wheels. So if we talk about like the sequence number, the collectability factor, maybe of the Fisker Ocean One with all the limited production. Now, if you end up with a low number, a round number, some interesting number, 007, whatever it may be, and you end up with choosing the rarest configuration, the Great White, the Sea Salt, and the 20-inch F7 Aero Stealth wheels, you might have a hit on your hands, possibly, right? That's a super collectible item, right?
Oh yeah, just take it straight to Barrett Jackson. Don't waste another day. Don't put any miles on it. Hermetically seal it.
That's right.
You know what I find funny is that the rarest combination for the One is probably going to be the most common on the Extreme, Ultra, and Sport. Probably.
Ding, 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 ding. I agree.
100%. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's right. That sounds right.
The only thing that it will have, though, it won't have Sea Salt interior. It'll end up having Black Abyss interior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be everything standard. That's what we did for the Ocean Sport. I thought I'm dropping a ton of cash for the Ocean One.
Yeah.
And to me, $37,499. Okay, that's not trivial. That's still a lot of money. I'm going to go with the base everything. And I was so debating, should I go with the Black Abyss Plus and spend the extra, what is it? Is it $2,500? I can't even remember what it is. But I thought, okay, I'm just going to stick with the fabric Black Abyss, and hopefully it's good. I haven't seen that yet. So we got everything, the standard option, the Great White, the Malibu, the Black Abyss, and the Aero Stealth wheels, which actually look kind of cool when you take the cover off. They actually look cool with the cover on, but with the cover off, they actually look pretty good, as we saw over in Park City, Utah.
Yeah,
those photos and videos, it actually looked pretty good. So I'm happy with that config. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. What other takeaways did I have there? Yeah, just basically everybody chose the highest priced options across the board for everything. Basically, that's kind of the big takeaway. And I did a write-up. I haven't posted on the site I don't think forever. a page that has every single wheel option. So I thought, okay, I didn't know what to write about yesterday, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna write about wheels because everybody loves talking about wheels and reading about wheels. So that's I think. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. I ended up putting in the Fiskerati forums. I ended up putting a post, a topic about, hey, is there anything you want to ask Henrik? Ask Henrik anything, kind of like a ask me anything. If for some reason I have an opportunity to interview Henrik in the coming weeks, I wanted to crowdsource the questions for the interview from people who watch the show, people who listen to the podcast, people who read the site, who contribute on the forums. So if you want to have your question considered, and I should say, I will definitely consider every single one of them. I'll read through them, I'll weed them out, and I will choose the best ones. And I will use them. Unlike Fisker with the Say platform, they didn't use any of those questions that they asked the community to provide. So I'm gonna use your questions. You just have to post them to the Fiskerati forum. And you know, it's if I get an opportunity to interview Henrik over the coming weeks, that's where the questions are going to come from. So please post them there if you have them. If the interview is great, it's because of your questions. If the interview is bad, it's also because of your questions. So that's all I got to say there. So, hey, Jim, do you have any notable EV news for us tonight?
I got a few things.
Yeah, what do you got?
So Rivian and Amazon, they are looking to finalize a deal that will actually reduce the amount of vans that Amazon will be purchasing per year. They're still going to honor the contract of how many total that they're going to get. They're just this year and next few years, they're going to slow down how many they're purchasing. Not exactly sure what the reasoning is for that, but in that process, then Rivian is wanting to stop the exclusivity with Amazon. That way that they can sell these to FedEx and whoever else that they want to, and get in that same market with Mercedes and Ford with their vans. That's all I know about that right now. I know
that's a good one.
On.
Yeah, I think that's neat. I read about that too, and I think it has to do with Amazon and their cost-cutting measures and trying to maybe be more profitable, reduce the fat possibly, and maybe push out the way while maybe Wall Street's looking for companies to be more profitable right now. Maybe they're trying to curb their spending. So they're trying to push that out, and it's a good thing, as you mentioned, maybe for Rivian. Now they can go sell their vans to other companies that need vans. Maybe Walmart, who's a competitor to Amazon. Totally off topic, but speaking of Amazon, I think this was kind of interesting. This came across my computer earlier today. This like an hour ago, maybe right before the show. I saw the headline on CNBC. It said Amazon shows off new satellite internet antennas as it takes on SpaceX Starlink. So I thought that was interesting. They're going to end up, Amazon revealed a trio of satellite antennas as the company prepares to take on SpaceX Starlink with its own Project Jupiter Internet Network. The tech giant will offer a standard, ultra-compact, and pro version of the antennas with speeds ranging from about 100 megabytes per second to as much as 1 gigabyte per second. And Amazon said the standard version is expected to cost less than $400 each to produce. So while they're trying to save money over at the Rivian deal, they're on the other hand they're trying to reinvent internet maybe or give their take on satellite internet, and I thought that was actually kind of interesting. So in the article that I read, it didn't mention if they were going to use Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos' company, to shoot the satellite. So maybe more details to come on that, or maybe I just read the wrong article. That article that I'm mentioning is on CNBC, but I'm sure there's going to be lots to talk about this maybe tomorrow. I think that's pretty neat. So what else? What else do we have in the EV news? Anything else interesting?
I saw a.
We got to.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
Oh no, I don't. I just it was kind of in passing, actually, just cruising the Instagrams and saw that Volkswagen's coming out with a product, small compact in the $25,000 range, kind of going to be
Yes.
a pair competitor, if I can speak. But I didn't have really time to explore it or check it out. But in addition to Tesla kind of finally aiming lower at the entry level segment, I think there's going to be some competition heating up around affordable EVs in the coming years. Hopefully we can get ours out of the barn first.
Yeah, and Matt, I think you
ID2.
commented on that. Yeah. What was your take on that, you guys? Because Jim, you had an ID4, and then Matt, you talked about how it may not ever actually come to the U.S., which would be a good thing for Fisker.
Yeah, it probably won't come to the U.S. I'm assuming. With the ID3 didn't, and it's just a smaller vehicle, and there's that smaller hatchback is not the thing in the U.S. anymore. It was in the 80s, but it's not anymore.
Got it. So does that put into question, will the Pair be interesting for consumers here in the United States? Maybe it'll have a lot more storage space than the ID2. I guess they call it actually the ID2 all.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about that is we heard that the Pair is planning to target around 300 miles. I don't know if they'll have two different size batteries, for like a city range battery and then the 300-mile battery. But the ID3 in Europe only has, I think it's a 45 and a 58, I think, something like that, kilowatt hour battery. Maybe it's a 54 and a 68. I don't remember which, but neither one of those is just barely over 200-mile range. And I'm assuming this ID2, if it's even smaller, it's probably going to have a lot smaller range than that.
They
so
actually
I
said
don't see it being.
Yeah, they actually said 450 kilometers, which I just did the math, the conversion on Google. It said 279 miles. So they said they're using the MEB entry platform. Okay, WLTP. There you go. It didn't specify. But yeah, that would make sense. That's going to be greater.
Yeah. So you're going to take, basically another 30% or 30 or 40% off of that number.
Got it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. What else do we have in the news? Anything else interesting?
So the other thing, we got to see TFL EV actually got to ride around in a canoe. And I thought that was really cool. It was really interesting. It was actually the regular, consumer version. It sat 5 people. And the weird thing was that the 2 people sat in the back and there was 1 seat on the side opposite of where the door opened. So that was your 3 seats in the back and you had the 2 in the front. And it has 350 horsepower, and this was a rear-wheel drive, and I think there is going to be an all-wheel drive version. It's supposed to go into production in 2024, but they are producing the cargo vans currently. Those are supposed to be out this year for people who had purchased those, or for companies that had purchased those. So it was pretty cool to actually get to see them drive that around. It's got a little front window down at the bottom. The whole front of it is actually open, where it almost looks like you could put storage or something down in there. And then it's got this little square glass that you can actually see like the curb right in front of you as you're pulling up. It was pretty neat. The other thing that was cool about it was the steering wheel. It kind of had that weird oval looking steering wheel, but it's can't remember. It's steer by wire, so there's no steering column. So you don't. So that's why that's all open underneath there. And the other thing is that something about it being like aeronautic technology or something, so that when you turn the steering wheel, if you turn it 90 degrees, the van turns 90 degrees. So however much you turn the steering wheel, that's how much the van actually turns, instead of like our old, when we're rack and pinion, we're like going around 2 or 3 times to make a sharp turn. So man, that would be something it'd be hard to get used to, I think. you just a little twitch, a little movement, and the whole thing's just taking off.
It's like
It's crazy.
It's like that Lexus.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Kind of like Super Mario Kart. You move the thing a little and you go crazy.
Right.
If anyone played that, maybe anyone ever played Super Mario Kart? I actually played that yesterday with my daughter. Anytime it rains here in San Diego, we take out the video games and we play for like 30 minutes or an hour. Yesterday we played Super Mario Kart, we played Super Mario World, and we played what else did we play? We played Street Fighter. Those were the three we played. It was a blast. Awesome. It was fun. Yeah, on the emulator, we got the little emulator, Nintendo emulator. So that was fun. But yeah, not that had anything to do with what you just said, Jim. But I thought of Mario Kart, and I had to share.
No, I know what you mean. The only other thing that I was going to mention was that Kia did kind of release their Kia EV9, which they're calling basically the electrified Telluride. I still don't know, even looking at it, the pictures that I've seen, they still don't look like they're like real pictures. So I don't know if it's still going to come that way or not. It looks like it still has a lot of sharp angles on it. I really thought everything was going to be smoothed off. But they really didn't give any information onto battery size, powertrain, anything like that. So, or I'm not even sure if when it's supposed to be expected. I was thinking it was supposed to be expected beginning of next year, but I'm not positive on that.
Yeah, I think it was for next year, later this year or next year. I think. Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, there was one more thing I did catch.
Yeah.
Volkswagen is going to build a battery production plant in Canada. I just saw that. So everybody's going to start building over here so that they can get people to buy their cars for a tax credit.
Yeah, they're going to need that, right? Somebody asked me earlier today about Fisker and whether they were going to actually break ground on a factory here in I should just say North America. And I just sent them the article from last year that talked about Fisker considering U.S. manufacturing. And I still haven't heard anything since that, but that was, we did hear a little bit about that last year when I think it was around August time, around all that crazy EV tax credit expiring and the crazy demand, I should say, for the Fisker Ocean Ultra and Sport. So there was a rush on and they sold out of those trims. And I think I heard as well that, I forgot what site I read it on. It might have actually been Fisker's site or it might have been on Fiskerati forums that we all know from last week that the Fisker Ocean Extreme is now on sale, if you want to call it that. You can reserve right away and you can order it, which means you choose your build configuration. You don't lock right away, but you order it. And I heard it was the United States and the United Kingdom. Maybe it's other countries as well. So if people know and they want to share in the chat, let us know. But those are the two that I heard. And then there's a thread going on. It's an old thread that I think somebody actually from earlier in this week, maybe last week, somebody's questioning how many Fisker Oceans are going to be produced this year in 2023. And I ended up stating what I believe. And then earlier today, I actually shared an article that I wrote and I said, yeah, I had none of the data that we have today. So yeah, I gave my justification for it, but I still think it's fairly accurate. And I think I may have mentioned to it earlier today on this episode, but someone had a great idea, which is why I bring it up again. They said, why don't you run? He said, Carl. So Carl, thank you for the idea. I thought it's a great idea. He said, how about a contest to guess the actual 2023 number before the end of March and give away a free premium subscription to the closest winner? So if I'm going to go ahead and do this, I think that would be fun for people to guess, what the number of, obviously it's probably not going to be more than 42,400, but it could be. And maybe we'll start that contest. So I'll write something up later this week and people can get their entries in, and maybe you have to put your entry at the bottom as a comment or in the forum post, and maybe I'll throw a post up on the site. So that'll be a fun one to do. And then we can go away a couple of premium subscriptions to the top, few people that get it right. And if you want to help support our channel, you can use you can go to, actually, I'm going to flash it on the screen here real quick. You can use this cool QR code, and there it is. There is Fiskerati Premium. You can, if you're watching this on your phone now, I don't know how you get access to that QR code, but if you go to fiskerati.com/premium, you can sign up for a premium subscription, which removes all the ads. I get people complaining about them every day, but it removes all the ads, and it also gives access to premium articles that are exclusive to the site. And I usually write one a week, and that's it. So there's the plug for that. If you haven't already liked this video, that's something that I should have done after reading the news. I should have said, if you haven't liked this video, you should like the video, because if you like the video, other people get recommended the video, and then more people get to see this show. And I will say, and I'm gonna say this because I believe this truly, tonight might be one of our best shows we've done, reading the news at the beginning. That's just my take. I actually thought it actually went pretty good, reading the news at the beginning. The only thing is, it took me like 45 minutes on top of what it normally takes to write that script that I read. So I don't know if I like that, but it definitely went better.
Welcome to making videos with YouTube.
Oh my God, right? Welcome to making videos.
You spend hours and hours and hours for a 12-minute video.
Yeah, but this is like an hour and a half we're almost at, so that's pretty good. So if you haven't liked the video, in the count of 3, if you could go ahead, please, and like the video, that would mean a lot, because it then helps create awareness for Fisker. Since, as Marty mentioned earlier, it's a brand people maybe still don't yet know about, so maybe they'll get recommended this video, and this will be the first time they get to see and learn about the company. So let's see, 3, 2, 1, go ahead, please, and hit the like button. And then, yeah, that's, thank you very much for doing that. If you hit the like button, it went from like 45 to 53. Maybe it'll hit 60 or maybe 75. Who knows? I think last week we had 75, and that's kind of where we topped out. But it looks like right now at 53. If you haven't hit the like button, hit it one more time. Now, I want to see if there's any questions. I haven't actually looked too much at the. Thank you, Tony DeRose, for hitting the like button. Thank you, Rosanna, for hitting the like button. Thank you very much. Now let's look for questions in the chat. I don't know if you guys have seen any. I tried looking as I was reading all the stuff, but all the news and stuff, but I haven't done a good job on
Sean?
that. Yeah, what's up?
I got one last thing to show. I have
shared.
Please
do. Oh yes.
I'm not. We didn't talk about this yet.
Go for it.
Tesla announced the V4 superchargers, and the first one opened up today in the Netherlands. And I think that's pretty big news for North America too, because they're going to be opening these up in the US at some point as new installations get done. And the nice thing about the V4 is the cable is about twice as long as the original superchargers. And they have the cable mounted to the left side of the stall, so it'll actually reach cars that have chargers on the left side easier, for example, the Ocean. And I think that's definitely good news, because they'll probably have the Magic Dock built into this also. So it'll be Tesla and CCS in the same pedestal.
How fast do those charge?
Right now, they're starting at 250, and I don't know what the limit is yet, because there's no cars that go faster than that from Tesla. So I think as they build these out, they'll increase the kilowatt rating as the cars can support it. I'm guessing the Cybertruck is going to be the first one that can support the faster charging.
Okay.
I heard that it's supposed to be able to go up to, I think, 1,000 volts. It'll do that. So, and I think that's what they're talking about this Cybertruck being at, or something like that. So
we have a few questions. I'm compiling them here. First one: do you know how the interior ambient lighting looks? Colors of the ambient light. as an example? No, we really don't have much information on ambient lighting. There really hasn't been any videos or any information shown. But we do know that I believe the top trims are going to offer some sort of ambient lighting, and that's all I know about it. Someone else had a question about free charging for a year. He said he saw it somewhere. Is there free charging for a year? If you're in Europe, you get 1 year of free charging through Allego, their charging network, and you have to take delivery of your Fisker Ocean by March 31st, 2024. You had to actually, you could have gotten it too. It was actually between January 1st, 2023 and March 31st, 2024. So you have pretty much a full year to get a Fisker Ocean, and you have to activate it, I believe, within that time frame. So you still have time to do that if you get a Fisker Ocean as late as Q1 2024. Another question about drivetrain: do we have real battery specs? Jim, do you want to take that one? We don't have battery specs.
I'm sorry. What was it?
About,
I was reading questions. What did you say?
Yeah, about battery specs. I know we haven't gotten any. There was some sort of article you read that had something about battery specs.
Yeah, whenever they had that media drive or whatever drive they had that you would went to, I think it was Motor Trend released something like 105 kilowatt hour battery, or they just said over 100 kilowatt hour battery. Someone else had mentioned, I think, was 105. I kind of did a little in one of my videos. I compared two other vehicles that had over 100 kilowatt hour batteries and what the efficiency would be at that 350 mile range. So no, we don't really know. We are pretty sure that it's over 100 or more with the amount of range that you're going to get out of that. It just about have to be. So that's really all that we know right now.
Got it. Now there's another question about something called, you might know about this, Marty. It's called Fort Lauderdale World Auto Show. I guess it's starting April 6th, and the question is will Fisker attend or have a pop-up at Fort Lauderdale World Auto Show? Personally, I haven't heard of anything.
I haven't either, but if like you, Fisker gives me a car, I will go to every auto show. I mean, yeah, it's probably gonna be on the weekend anyway. I've got no plans, and myself personally, when I do get my car, I'm actually probably going to take it to a couple of car shows, especially if they have like an EV division, just because I don't want a bunch of people sitting in my car and crowding around or whatever, but at least they can see one and, IRL. And I think that would be helpful, and it'll be fun, just to,
it would be fun.
Talk shop, answer questions and hang out and do car show stuff and also see other cars, of course.
Yeah. Another question. Let's see here. Tommaso had a question. Doesn't Fisker have their own production line at Magna? So it's my understanding that they actually share the line with other companies like Toyota and BMW. That's my understanding. That's what I saw when I was there.
We saw some photos of that too. We've seen some photos with the Ocean with a Toyota Supra behind it. So
really, that's interesting. Yeah. Wow, I did not know that. I learned something today. That's great.
Yeah, because when I was there, I said I asked the question similar. I said something like, how smart are you guys may have seen in the photos. So like each car has like some sort of a piece of paper on it, which has like a scannable code, like a QR code. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, there's all these places on the line, and place number 100, as an example, might be a Toyota. Placeholder, 101 on the line might be a Fisker Ocean. Just go around. The equipment, I was told, is so smart that you can have all these cars on the line, multiple different makes, and the machine's so smart to grab the windshield from this pile or the the seats from that pile or whatever it may be. It's like it just knows like this car needs a battery because this is a EV.
Wow.
Let's roll the battery down the line and use the battery installer to do it. That's the same line, and there could be a Toyota Supra on that line or a BMW, and it knows, nope, this is a Fisker Ocean. We're gonna roll a battery down and install the battery while we have maybe a Supra in the front and a Supra behind it. That was what I was told, and that's my understanding from what I was told. But I think it's remarkable. Like I mentioned earlier, that place is a machine, and the technology is so sophisticated. It knows where everything is on the line. And if I recall, somebody told me, one of the people that worked at Fisker mentioned, or maybe it was Magna, I don't think it was Fisker, somebody who worked at Fisker, they said that from start to finish, one Fisker Ocean could get built in 8 hours. So I wasn't told how many vehicles could be on a line at one time. I don't know how many can be being built at the same time, but I'm sure we can run that math at some point. But yeah, 8 hours to build a Fisker Ocean from start to finish. I thought that was pretty neat.
It's kind of interesting because they make everything from the Jaguar I-Pace to the Mercedes G-Wagon in that same factory. I mean, that's a quite different, you know.
I've noticed too that as
Yep. No, you're good. Go ahead, Marty.
Just then, kind of piggyback on what you're saying as far as the other brands that are made there. Now, when I'm, in a parking garage or I see a Supra on the street or a G-Wagon, I get the warm fuzzy feeling because I'm like, man, the Ocean is going to be solid. It's going to be a great looking car. It's going to be very good quality. And, I saw a Supra with a matte finish paint, and I don't know if that was original or not, but it could have been a wrap. But it looked great, and the curves on that car, incredible. And good enough for Toyota, good enough for Jaguar, good enough for Mercedes. I think it's going to be good enough for Fisker.
It'd be good enough for me. Yeah, there were so many of those G-Wagons parked on the exterior of the Magna Stera facility. And where I live here, we live next to a lot of affluent people, affluent communities, I should say. And there's loads of G-Wagons going around, and 16-year-olds with their driver's license driving a G-Wagon. And I know they're super expensive vehicles. Mm-hmm. And I think I have seen a black matte one, if I recall. But they're all over the place. And like you said, Marty, it gives me the warm and fuzzies going. That came from the factory that I actually got to visit, lucky enough to visit. And that's the same, the same people building that are going to be building Fisker Ocean that'll someday be sitting in my garage. So Pretty neat. Pretty neat. And I don't see any, is there any connection? And you just answered this, Matt, but someone asked, is there any connection between the Jaguar I-Pace and the Fisker Ocean? Maybe you did just answer that, right? Yeah,
Jaguar designed that themselves, and they just had Magna do the construction of the building. So yeah, it was entirely a Jaguar project.
I don't know if I understand this question. Let's see here. Is Fisker Ocean going to have vehicle to load ability? I don't know. I don't understand that question. To load ability?
Yeah, I can answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vehicle to load ability? Yes. The answer is
yes.
yes.
Load is just connecting a single appliance to the car. Kias and Hyundais have that now, where they have a little adapter that plugs into the port, and then you can plug, say, a single.
Okay, we're talking about Fisker's marketing term, power share.
Yeah, so it's like a power share. Okay. Yeah,
like V to H, vehicle to home.
Yeah, they're all different varieties of. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I just didn't understand the question.
Exporting the power out of the car.
So if hypothetically, let's say someone took their Fisker Ocean to a tailgate at the University of Florida to watch a Gator game, and they brought their kegerator, hypothetically again, would that be able to power something like that?
Yeah.
Cool. Good to know. Good to know.
Good to know.
You should. I mean,
hypothetically.
You'll have that, and you'll also have the plug that's in the back too. So I would think that would probably be enough power to do the kegerator, but I don't know. I don't know how much power.
Yeah, we haven't seen the ratings on the outlet in the trunk area yet, but it's probably going to be decent, I would think.
We'll have to run some real world tests and report back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat.
For science, of course.
Oh yeah, I'll be
You know,
testing.
one
I'll get one of those kilowatt meters and everything. I'll be testing that.
Cool.
You know, one of the things that I thought, and I'm glad somebody actually did this when the Ford Lightning first came out. They were talking about the onboard power and all that stuff, and it was like 9.6 kilowatt power that it could put out. And I sat there and thought, and I was like, can you charge the truck with itself? You know, it's just going in a circle. And then Ryan of Kilowatts, he actually did it. He plugged it in and did it, and it actually was charging. But the thing is that the power that you're putting out to actually run the power for the onboard thing was using more than what you were putting back in. So eventually, it would still run out. But I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, wow, this makes sense to me. But you can charge other EVs with that 9.6. So I mean, somebody's off the side of the road, you can plug them in and you can give them 30 miles of charge in an hour. You know, if
to do jumper cables,
plug in. So
yeah.
That's neat.
Cool. So I think that's all the questions we have there. I just want to thank everybody for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. Thanks for the people listening on the podcast. Thank you, Matt, for joining us. Thank you, Jim, for joining us. Thank you, Marty, for joining us. A pleasure to hang out with you guys tonight. And that's going to do it for All Things Fisker episode number 19. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Good night.
yeah.